Hi everyone, this is meteorologist Amy Metz reporting from Hawaii on the tropical activity we have going on right now. So there's a depression in around South Carolina that'll be moving inland a little bit more, even toward Georgia. Then there's also another area that we might be seeing a development of. I'll show you some more information on that in a minute, including sea surface temperatures. Enrique has been going, crawling up along the coast here of Central America, Mexico, all the way now almost to Baja, California. So it's been going on for days and days here, but never really getting too strong. We're at 979 millibars now with 80-mile-per-hour winds and still offshore as it has been this whole time. There's another batch of activity pushing up across Japan right now, but look at this coronal mass ejection. It produced a C-class flare that was felt here just outside of our Earth's surface by the GOES satellite. But this coronagraph here is showing a lot of plasma. This is magnetically charged plasma leaving the sun and ejecting into space. And so when it happens that it occurs on certain parts of the sun, here it appears as though it might be on the right side, or what's referred to as the west limb. That would indicate that it would be felt here around Earth. So yeah, we found a C-class with that, and sometimes we can get some activity, geomagnetic activity from that can do things like give us aurora or mess up radio communications, bump our satellites around, kind of mess with GPS, or maybe how airline pilots are flying with their systems for coordinates and how they're being told by computers where they are and where they're telling the computer they are. That kind of thing can get a little altered when these are big enough. So this one may or may not be. At the end here I can look at the CME scoreboard and see what people are saying. But as far as activity on the Earth, I noticed that normally when we have flares like this, things kind of heighten a little bit with storm activity. So I've been watching this very closely now for a year. And sure enough, there was a B class the day before I didn't mention, just yesterday, and then that was UTC time on the 28th that this C class occurred. So now 4 is getting a little bit stronger, but you don't see a lot of rain around that. If I zoom in where 4 is, it's almost kind of dry on this side, but reason that it may be pushing inland more has a lot to do with the activity going on to the west of the system. It's kind of pulling it up in there as very slow moving winds are kind of just circulating over the Gulf. We also have stronger moving winds crossing the central United States. So that's going to kind of help pull this storm system into there. But again, not very much moisture with this. Enrique has a lot more moisture, and so that's what's driving some of this other wind activity around 4 all the way up through the central United States. So that's a little faster moving, but not very strong, as I had said. So we can look at the band. I like 8, 9, and 10 here. We're going to get the mid-levels where we see a lot more of the steering winds at this level here, around 500 millibars. So green is very moist, a lot of rain, and that is continuing through the Gulf. So I've been wondering if perhaps we're going to be seeing some developments popping up in the Gulf in the next month or so. Not so much right now, but we can see that it's primed as far as the moisture goes. It's just that there's a lot of wind shear here. Everything's kind of moving in different directions. Then we also had that possible development where there'll be a tropical wave passing. I'll go back to National Hurricane Center and show you that. Is located just between Africa and Central America, just a tad closer to Central America, or excuse me, South America. So that would be where all the moisture is here, and then a tropical wave that could pass is something like these stronger storm systems to the north. As they move past and continue eastward, this moisture band will kind of follow it real slowly, and it can end up creating kind of curls here. So our global sea surface temperatures in that same area are they're pretty warm. They're warm enough for this kind of tropical activity. 70s, 80s. Once things get to 90s in the darker reds, then we're really in for trouble. So it's easier for these things to form and get more strength. So Enrique has had quite a bit of strength. It formed closer to San Salvador. in Central America, where this cursor is now, and is now located there. So all along the warm water, they do like to follow these paths. So then we have the X here that just might turn into something in the next few days. I would give that a low chance of becoming really big personally. Another reason here is that there is some cooler water between where it could form and where it would be moving to. So even if something did happen, a tropical depression like we're seeing with 4, where there's kind of a mix of colors there, warms and colds, that's what we would be seeing here, something very weak. It's still blending in around the same kind of temperatures what 4 is going through right now. And then very warm water in the Gulf where there's already moisture. So it just takes the right wind activity to get something going there. And I just wanted to throw in here where Enrique is going. Should be crossing over Baja. So I've been here. Mulegé has been hit by hurricanes in the past and destroyed, a town that I just loved going to. So we also have big tourist cities down here, down at the end here. So this will be crossing over, but 1,000 millibars is not very, it's not very low. It's not going to be very strong. By the time this gets there, those millibars could drop a little bit. Wind speeds up to maybe 65 miles per hour. I wouldn't want to be sitting under a tree in that kind of activity, but it's not going to be pummeling buildings down. So that is the good news with this storm. Just be ready. Things are clipped. You're kind of out of the way as the stronger winds pass by. And, you might even see some people out in the water in these types of storms. So hopefully everybody stays safe and it's not a big deal there, because there's a little bit of wind shear here. That's where these greens turn into yellows and they oppose these streamline white winds. So we're not going to have a big storm there, but there is plenty of rain with it. And then less rain, a little bit more shear where we see 4. So that forecast track for this model here I was more in agreement with is going toward Georgia as a low pressure and has moderate wind shear, but that wind shear is going to be decreasing as everything that we saw here kind of moving east and what was moving fast to the northeast, that's going to be intersecting in the next, I would say, day or two. So over the next day, not going to see much difference with this, but then when those systems start interacting more, it'll kind of get swept up and pushed north. So I hope everybody stays safe, enjoys the weather. I'll go ahead and play out a little bit of the satellite loop here on the last 12 hours on the infrared, where our major storms are now, and we can see just how much rain is around Enrique. And feel free to ask questions or put anything in the comments here. I'm going to be updating this as things continue to progress here this season. I tend to only forecast on what's going to be affecting land. And speaking of, Japan did have a little bit of tropical activity passing by. I want to say it's probably more close into the ridge now. But we did have another system pass east of the Philippines, not really even interacting with it. And now it's been picked up and is kind of getting disorganized with all the other tropical waves out there. Of course, now we're getting even up into the polar jet. The farther north we can go there. So I'll be keeping an eye on these things, and then when they do affect land, no matter where they are in the world, I will be forecasting for them. So luckily we haven't seen much after Yas and Tauktae had made landfall, one on the western end of India and the other on the eastern. So luckily it's been pretty calm over there since then, but surely these waters are warm as well. We will be seeing more activity here before the year ends. So hang tight, go ahead to hit subscribe, and you can find me at the links down below in the description on other social media platforms. I'll talk to you later. Have a nice day.